John Brayton of Golden Hill Software brings his RSS reader Unread to the Mac. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Notion AI, the one tool that does it all. Try Notion AI for free at notion.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, one of my favorite ways to get information and consume information is through RSS. And that includes podcasts, of course, but also everything else, because most things you can find a way to subscribe to in RSS. That's why I was anxious to have John Brayton back on this show. He's the author of Unread, or the developer of Unread, maybe is a better way to say it, a high-quality RSS reader that has recently undergone some changes and upgrades. And so we're going to find out what those are and maybe learn a little bit more about why you should think about using it to get your information. John, it's great to see you. It's been a ridiculously long time, but I'm so glad you're still at it.
Well, thank you for having me, Chuck.
So
it's good to be here.
Yeah. So Unread, I know we've talked about Unread on the show before, but it's been quite literally years since we've done it. So can we ask you to just give us a quick highlight of Unread, the highlights of Unread, and what new features and developments and items you've put into it?
Sure. So Unread is an RSS reader. It's been available for the iPhone and iPad for just over 10 years now. I took over development in 2017, but it was on the market. It's been on the market for about 10 years now. And just this past summer, I released a big new version, Unread 4. And the big change in Unread is that there is now a Mac version as well. So the Mac version of Unread has all of Unread's big features. It has the Unread is known for its beautiful typography, its color themes, and its handling of summary-only feeds. It has a subscribe in Unread share sheet extension that lets you, if you're in Safari or another browser, you want to find feeds offered by the website you're visiting. You can open those right from the share sheet and subscribe from right there. It has a save to Unread share sheet extension that lets you save the article from the current page you're reading to Unread, and it has widgets. All of those features have been in Unread on the iPhone and iPad for some time, but the new Mac version now has all those features as well. So Unread for Mac has all the features that you would expect if you were using Unread on the iPhone and iPad. Unread has everything Unread for the Mac has everything you'd expect.
So I was really excited to hear this, because I've gotten to the point that in any given category of apps, I want something that's going to be universal across everything, all my devices, because inevitably I go from Mac to iPad to iPhone to back to iPhone and to iPad. It's just the way it is. Is it fair to assume that Unread syncs between all your devices, and so if I read an article on one, it's marked as read on all the others?
Yes. So Unread, I have there's a cloud service that goes along with it called Unread Cloud, and that keeps you can use Unread Cloud to keep Unread in sync across all your devices, your Mac, your iPhone, your iPad. In addition, Unread syncs with other services as well. Some customers use Feedbin or Feedly or iKnowReader or Newsblur. Those are essentially websites that act as or web-based RSS readers that offer a syncing capability, and Unread syncs with those services as well. So Unread it syncs your feeds, it syncs, which articles are marked read and unread, which articles are saved and unsaved, all of that stuff.
Okay, if I don't ask you this question, I'm going to get emails, so I'm going to go ahead and ask it. If I'm using your cloud service, am I giving up information to you on the kind of information that I'm consuming, that I'm reading, the feeds that I'm subscribing to, and that kind of thing?
Sure. So Unread, that's a great question. Unread has, when you use Unread Cloud, my servers do need to collect information like the set of feeds to which you subscribe, and of course, which articles you've marked read and unread. I need that's necessary in order to perform the syncing. I have a very clear privacy policy that states I would encourage anyone to just read it in full at goldenhillsoftware.com/unread/privacy. But in short, I'm not interested in having anyone's information. I don't sell it. My servers hold that information just to perform the functions that that is needed by Unread, which is to check feeds looking for new articles and to sync between your devices and the cloud.
I'm sorry. I feel like I need to apologize because that sounds like I'm potentially accusing you of something nefarious. But it's
a good question. Yeah.
Yes, it's something that we all keep asking every day because it seems like everybody wants our information.
Right.
And I'm not quite sure that it's being necessarily weaponized against us in most cases, but it is definitely being used to someone else's advantage.
Sure. So. Yeah, I don't do anything. I don't do anything with the data, and I don't sell it. I don't monetize it. I don't look at it unless I have to troubleshoot something. And another thing to be aware of is that it's all anonymous. When you log into an Unread Cloud account, you log in using Sign In with Apple. So all I get from Apple when you log in is some token that identifies you as an authorized user, but it doesn't tell me anything else about who you are. It's just a user identifier. Your listeners might know that Unread, that Sign In with Unread Sign In with Apple lets you request an email address, and a user can send an anonymized email address. But I don't even ask for that. I never see that. When you sign in with Apple using Unread, you're not even asked about an email address because I don't ask for an email address. I don't want it.
Got it. Okay, so take this in the spirit it's intended. Why did it take so long to get to the Mac? Why did you focus for so long on iOS and iPad?
That's a great question. Primarily because I really wanted it to be the best version of Unread I could make it for the Mac. There are definitely shortcuts I could have taken. I could have used Catalyst, which is Apple's framework, Apple's system for taking an iOS app and making an iOS app run on a Mac. That definitely would have let me bring Unread to the Mac much earlier, probably years earlier. But I didn't want that. The Mac version of Unread is a native Mac app. It's not an iOS app running on the Mac. So everything is native. It uses mostly AppKit, the Unread, Apple's Cocoa frameworks. It does not use. It uses a little bit of Swift UI, but it doesn't use any of the iOS frameworks. It's all Mac frameworks. It's a completely native application. So that's one reason. Another reason is just because I've prioritized other things over time. So I took over Unread development in 2017. I spent the first few years adding features that customers had been asking for in the iPhone app and in the iPad app. Things like hardware keyboard navigation, handling of summary-only feeds, syncing with iNoReader, keeping up with Apple frameworks, things like that. And then I spent a year or two building Unread Cloud, which is my syncing service. Until I did that, you could when you used Unread, you had to sync with using a third-party service such as Feedly or Feedbin, and you can still do that. but I spent a long time building my own cloud syncing system because I wanted it to be that when you first you download Unread from the App Store for the very first time, you could just get started right away. You didn't have to create an account with one of a bunch of other different services. You could just get started right then and there. So really, I started working on the Mac version at the start of 2023. So yeah, it took me some time.
Well, I mean, that still seems like a relatively short development time, and it makes. But your choice of deciding to build the cloud service first makes perfect sense, because if people aren't familiar with RSS, they may not appreciate that, and especially given the fact that you already had it on the iPad and iOS side, you definitely needed to have the sync feature built, or people would have probably ignored one or the other.
Right. Yeah, I had a difficult time choosing whether to build this. I put a lot of thought into whether to focus first on a Mac version and then focus on my own syncing system, and ideally, I would have done them both at the same time, but that just wasn't feasible. So, I just focused on the cloud syncing service first. And I think the nice thing is, now that I have a Mac version, I have more customers who are using the app on multiple devices. So, having that sync service be there before the Mac version has worked out well.
I'm curious to see, as a developer of an RSS reader for all the Apple platforms right now. Well, almost all the Apple platforms. We'll leave the Vision Pro out of this. How do you think that people are coming back to RSS? Do you think they're starting to appreciate the benefits of RSS? Or is it still primarily the purview of tech people who understand it?
It's a little bit of both. I think people are. I think there's been a resurgence in RSS reader usage. I think the Twitter's troubles have moved people away from Twitter and have people thinking more critically about having a single social media platform be their source of news. And of course we now have, Twitter's still there, and we have Threads and Mastodon and other services, but the social media landscape is much more fragmented. And I think that has a lot of people questioning, why am I checking a social media site anyway? All I really want is articles from my favorite websites, so I should just subscribe to them directly and get those new articles right in my RSS reader. So I think there's definitely been a resurgence happening. And we're also seeing, I think another angle is that, you read an article on, you find a link on Mastodon, you find a link on Threads, wherever, and it brings you to the website. And, lots of websites are fantastic, but other websites are just cluttered with ads and, cookie alerts. And people just want to get to the article and not go through all that. And an RSS reader helps get you just the content you want, lets you read it really quick, lets you open the article, read it quickly, and either save it or discard it without having to deal with a website that has a bunch of ads and other junk on
it. I agree with you, and I love the idea that we can avoid some of that. I recognize that ads are a necessary evil at times. But that said, sometimes it just feels like I'm not sure who's abusing whom, whether it's the advertising companies that are demanding that the publishers, put all these ads in, or the publishers are making the decision to put them in and abuse us as readers. So I don't want to not support my favorite websites, but I would like to have a superior viewing experience, no question about it.
Sure. And for the benefit of anyone who publishes a website that happens to, make its money using ads, one thing a lot of successful sites do is they'll have sponsored posts. So you see Daring Fireball does this. I believe Mac Stories does this. Pixel Envy does this. 512 Pixels does this. They'll have maybe, some number of articles every week, but one or two of those will be a sponsored post. And, Unread and every other RSS reader will display sponsored posts just fine. And it's a nice way of, I think sponsored posts through RSS feeds provide a nice way to, keep monetizing your site, which absolutely I would encourage. I think monetizing, producing a website and making money through ads is fantastic, but have sponsored posts that also look nice in an RSS reader, but aren't filled with cookies and alerts and things jumping up and down around the web page and covering up the web page and all that.
Yeah. I've just recently we were involved in a MacVoices live discussion, and someone was looking something up on a website and had to retract a comment because they had missed something that was in the article that was being covered up by an ad. And it's like,
sure.
That's kind of sad. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. I've just a couple days ago, I couldn't click through ads on a website to get to something I was trying to read. And I tried Safari Reader mode, and that didn't work. And I ended up opening the web inspector and copying the HTML and reading it that way. But not everyone knows how to do that, and that was a painful way to do it, but it worked.
Yeah, well, and I mean that's just something deeply wrong about the whole system. If you have to be a geek like you and I are, and a lot of our friends are, to be able to get to the article that somebody publishes that they want you to read. I mean, come on.
Right. Right.
Your comments about social media, though, really intrigued me. I hadn't thought of it exactly as having an effect on the use of RSS, but you're absolutely right, because that way I can curate my sources, whatever my biases or lack of biases happen to be. I can curate the sources, and when I go to my RSS reader, I'm going to pretty much know where it's all coming from, as opposed to somebody quoting it, or even worse, maybe misquoting it on social media.
Right. And with the fragmentation that we're seeing, a lot of sites that we're publishing to Twitter or still are posting their links to Twitter. Well, maybe if you're only on Mastodon now or only on Threads now, some of those publications aren't posting to Mastodon or aren't posting to Threads. But a lot of them do have an RSS feed. Something I've taken to is because I use Ivory to read Mastodon, and something I do is I filter out the quote tweets and the retweets or reposts, because a lot of times people are reposting things because they're either they're angry about it, they're outraged about it, they want to or they want to you not necessarily, they're not trying to do anything harmful. If presumably you're not following someone who's posting things that are harmful, but there's just a lot of outrage, and I like to filter out the reposts, and it helps remove a lot of that. And as a result of that, I generally don't see as many links to actual news articles when I'm reading Mastodon, but that's okay because I read them with Unread.
Yeah, I agree. I know I seldom click through something that someone has reposted unless they've included their own comment. Then it's like,
right.
Okay, if they say this is interesting and then have it, well, no, I'm not sure that it's worth it. But if they want to make a particular point, I'm right there. I'm right there with you. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Notion. Try Notion for free at notion.com/MacVoices. There are so many tools out there that say they will help you get and stay organized and productive. But so many. Why can't there be just one? There is Notion. The new Notion AI is a single AI tool that does it all. Search across Notion and other apps, generate docs in your own style, analyze PDFs and images, and chat with you about anything. Notion AI connects to multiple knowledge sources, including GPT-4 and Claude, so that you can reference just about any topic. And now, with the AI connectors that are in beta, Notion AI can search across Slack discussions, Google Docs, Sheets and Lines, and more coming soon. Remember all those other tools? None of them are as integrated as Notion. Seamless, flexible, and easy to use, so you don't have to learn multiple tools. Just use Notion. Over half of the Fortune 500 companies can't be wrong. Their teams send less emails, save time searching for their work, and cancel more meetings. And I am all for canceling those mindless, self-important meetings in favor of actually getting something done with Notion. If that all sounds good, and how can it not? Try Notion for free when you go to notion.com/MacVoices. That's all lowercase letters, Notion, Notion, notion.com/MacVoices to try the powerful, easy-to-use Notion AI today. And when you use my link, you're supporting my show. Notion.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Notion for supporting MacVoices. Can you talk a little bit about, though, earlier in the conversation, we sort of passed over it, that I pull up an article from news site X, and I decide, that's a really good article. I want to save that. What are the mechanics of saving it, and then how do I go about retrieving it within Unread?
So there's on the Mac, if you're in Safari, there is the share button at the top right that lets you open notes, messages, things like that. In that menu, you have to go to extensions once to add it, and there's a help document in Unread that will help you do that. But you can add save to Unread and subscribe to Unread. So if you add save to Unread and then you invoke that on any web page, it will get saved to your account, and then when you go back to Unread, it'll appear as a new article, just as if it came from a feed to which you subscribe. So it's available right from over, and it also works like in Chrome, in almost any other web browser. Sometimes it's not a share button at the top in the toolbar. Sometimes it's a share menu, and on the iPhone and iPad, it's available in the share sheet.
Okay, so to cycle back to an earlier question, so where is that list of things that I have decided I wanted to save? Where is that stored? Is that stored on your servers, or is it? Because what I'm thinking is, we have options for Pocket and Instapaper and those kind of things to save articles, but that's, to your point again, it's invoking yet another service. And so if I'm saving it on Unread, I really like that because it's going to be one place. Where is that located?
Oh, so when the article is saved to if you use Unread Cloud, it's saved to my servers, and then when you open Unread again, it'll get synced back to the app, and you'll find it under both unread articles until you mark it read, and under saved articles. If you use if you use Feedbin, there's a dedicated Pages tab, and it'll appear, or Pages source list item, and it'll appear under there. If you use Feedly or Newsblur, it'll appear under saved articles.
Okay, all right. So it's all in one package, the Unread package, if you will.
Right. Exactly. It'll get saved to your list of saved articles. It gets saved right along with articles that you save. So Unread has the concept of saved articles, which is, you're reading an article and you decide, this might be an article I'm going to want to refer back to. You save it, and then it goes to a list of saved articles. That list of saved articles is also the list where also contains articles that you saved using the Save to Unread share extension.
I don't want that to be an overlooked feature, because I know in my current RSS reader, which is not unread at the moment, but it will be soon, that I don't. There are things that I know they're too long a read, and I don't have time. And so sometimes, I'll just sit down and want to curate things out and just, okay, let's clean out the 25 announcements of the new beta, that has been released for iOS. Just get rid of those,
right,
and let's boil it down. But in the midst of doing that, it's like, oh yeah, there's a really good article I'd like to spend some time with. So now I will be able to save it. It'll appear in that saved list. And I can spend some quality time going through the saved list, really paying attention to the article.
Yeah, it's definitely a useful feature. I have a lot of customers. I have customers who don't use RSS, don't use Unread as an RSS reader that much, but use Unread more like a read it later app. And honestly, I tend to view it as an RSS reader first, but you can also save your own articles there later. But then, but I have customers that sort of look at it the other way around. They're like, well, mostly I put my saved articles there, but then I also subscribe to a few feeds and I read those with Unread as well.
So maybe I'm missing it. How are they saving their own articles directly into Unread?
Through the Save to Unread share extension. So that's where within Safari.
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I'm sort of like you have a save to Instapaper.
Right, exactly. It works exactly like the save save to Instapaper.
Okay, I love that though. That means that I can stop sending things to separate accounts and then have to bounce around. I can just send them all to one place, and that is going to be. I mean, if I see an article from a website that I don't subscribe to their RSS feed, I can still save it over to Unread and then pick it up later. Oh, right. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. But along those lines, Unread does have the ability to save our, maybe this is what you're asking about earlier. I apologize if I misunderstood. The Unread does have the article to save a link, to take an article that you're reading and send it to another, to send that article to a read later app. It supports sending articles to good links to Instapaper, to Omnivore, Pinboard, Plinky, Pocket, Raindrop.io, Readwise, and Safari Reading List. And I'm working on adding others to that list as well. So yeah, if you prefer to read your RSS, do sort of your triaging in Unread, and then read articles later with a service like Pocket or Instapaper, you can do that as well.
I love the fact that, because I remember this from using Unread on my iPhone, that you do work hard to try to make sure that you support as many options as you can, so that if I have a particular favorite for whatever reason, that I don't have to make a decision. It's either this or it's either Unread or the other option, that I can have them all integrated and use them as I want to use them.
Yeah, I try to keep the app as flexible as possible so that, customers can use the app as they see fit. It's one thing that I find I always learn a lot listening to, talking with my customers, and I always hear ways that customers use my app that I wouldn't have thought of, or in a way that's not really the way that I would have intended, but it works well for them. So that's fantastic. So I try to keep the app very flexible.
So we're at that point where we should probably start talking about pricing.
Sure.
How are these the multiple platforms? How are they all priced, and what are the logistics of getting them, other than obviously going to the app stores?
So the app is free to use. Most of the function, I would say, 95% of the functionality is free. There is no charge. There is a set of premium features that one can subscribe to. The premium features cost, in US dollars, it's $29.99 a year. That subscription covers all the platforms, Mac, iPhone, and iPad. The premium features you get are, one of them is caching of web page text and images. So that makes loading articles much faster because the images are already there on your device when you go to open them. The save to unread share extension that we talked about. The ability to set a custom icon. There are 32 different variants of the icon that you can use. Article actions, that's the ability to send to Good Links, Instapaper, Omnivore, all of those services. There are widget customization options that you get with a subscription, and you also get premium customer support with the subscription. But if you choose not to subscribe, you can use the app for free, and you miss out on those features, but you can use the app and never subscribe to those features, or you can use the app for a long time and then later decide that maybe those features would really help you, so then you can subscribe later.
So again, this is one of those questions whenever it comes up, I like to ask developers because I think it's important for end users to understand, why did you choose a subscription model over a sell this and then do an upgrade and do upgrade pricing and that kind of thing?
To me, the primary benefit of a subscription model is that I can roll out improvements slowly or not slowly, but like staggered over time. I can, release a big feature update in a couple months, and then another feature update in another couple months, and another feature update in another couple months. I don't have to save up this big long list of big features and then it falls in a year. And then everyone has to decide, well, are they going to pay for the upgrade or not? It's just, you just decide that you want it's just easier. It's easier for me to release the features when they're ready. It's better for customers because customers get the new features sooner. They don't have to wait for it all to be saved up for a big upgrade. And it also helps me fund the servers that I use for the syncing, for extracting web page text. Those have an ongoing cost that I need to cover. And finally, I think it just reflects the nature of software being something that's constantly changing. An app that seems very modern, that seemed very modern on your phone a couple of years ago. If you use it today, it might still work. It probably still works, but it's probably missing, new features like, dark mode icons or whatever Apple might have thought up that year, whatever customers start looking for. And just being able to have the app always be modern, always have the features that I've been able to implement, the subscription model makes that feasible.
Okay. I'm so afraid that question can turn someone defensive. And I never intended that way,
No.
simply because, yes, you have server costs, you have development costs. Mm-hmm. These things are not free. And, the other nasty little surprise is the prices are going up on everything. Unfortunately,
sure.
It's just the way it is. Your choice to make, I think you said 95% of the features free to use for me to get a taste of it, and then buy into the more specialized features is a really interesting choice. And it probably gets you better exposure for the app. And then people can hopefully, decide to do the upgrade for the subscription and take advantage of all those other features. But again, one of the biggest challenges is just getting me to download the app and try it in the first place. And with that kind of feature set, it makes it a no-brainer.
Right. One of my goals for this pricing structure was to make my goal with the free version is to make Unread the best RSS reader before you get the premium features. And best for one person isn't best for someone else, but subjectively the best RSS reader, and then the premium features are, once you have it, I hope customers are enticed to buy the premium, subscribe to get the premium features. I know that not everyone will, and that's okay. I'm happy for customers to use Unread, and hopefully, if they like it, maybe they'll choose not to subscribe, but maybe they'll tell their friends, and maybe some of their friends will subscribe.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we've gotten you a bunch of downloads with this show, and also maybe a few subscribers as well. Because I know, looking at your past efforts, and now I definitely want to go and try the Mac version out. But your past efforts have always been high quality, and so that's why I was so. Your timing was perfect, because we just added a blog to the MacVoices site. So, folks, if you download Unread, the first thing you should subscribe to is the MacVoices blog.
Absolutely,
just to test everything out, right?
Yes.
John, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. Before we let you go, have we missed anything? Is there anything that I haven't asked about that I don't know about that you want to tell us about?
I don't think so. I think we've covered it. I hope all your listeners will take the chance to check out Unread, and I hope that they like it, and of course, if they really like it and would enjoy the premium features, I hope they consider subscribing to the premium features as well.
Great. The website, obviously, again, you get it through the app stores, but your website is?
goldenhillsoftware.com.
Great.
That'll bring you right to the Unread product page, and there's a link right from a big link at the top from right there to the App Store. It'll open the App Store on your phone, your iPad, or the Mac.
Perfect. John, let's do this more often. This was a lot of fun, and I don't have no idea where literally the years have gone. But, I'm glad you're still in it, and we'll get you back on. And anytime you have a new product or new update you want to talk about, please let me know.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Chuck. It's been great talking with you.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Again, go check out the Unread RSS Reader. Subscribe to the MacVoices blog in it, or somebody else's if you really have to. But definitely check it out, because it is something that, if you are not familiar with RSS readers, you really should be. It's going to change your life. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.